Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video. Do you know what it is? You might say, send me a message. But actually, we have a more specific way to say that. It is called DM. You often hear people say, DM me on social media. Now you got it, right? But just knowing that is not enough. You might have realized that every time you want to use a phrase like that, you forget about it. To help you with that in this video, I'll show you practical ways of learning a phrase from a context so you don't just know it, you can actually use it when you speak or write. Let's get into it. This video includes two parts: how I learn new words and phrases and how I actually use them. Let's start with how I learn them. So reading and listening are both types of input in English, but since they are both inputs anyway, I'll just focus on reading in this video. Listening works the same way. Well, now reading can be split into two styles: word by word reading, that we call it intensive reading, and casual reading or extensive reading. For intensive reading, you read word by word, sentence by sentence. Make sure to highlight any word that you don't fully understand, even if you can kind of guess its meaning from the context. Whenever that happens, pause the reading, grab a sheet of paper, a sticky note, or software that automatically excerpts words from a passage, like what I'm doing right now, and make sure to write that down. Look up its meaning in a dictionary, and I highly recommend reading the English definition, not just a translation, and paying attention to the structure of the word to get a deeper understanding of how it forms. That's it. Whenever you find a word that you don't know, record it. After you finish reading the passage, go back, organize the words you collected, and put on your notes the information that helps you remember the words, its meaning, its structure, and something like that. I prefer use a digital tool because it is easier to manage and frees me a lot of copying work. I usually collect words like this, then export them into another app for easier review, and that's how I do for intensive reading. But intensive reading is slow, and most of us still want to do it all the time. I don't. So most of my reading is casual. For casual reading, I only look up words if they stop me from understanding the main idea of the passage. We don't need to look into every single unfamiliar word. As long as you can still follow the general meaning, it is okay to skip them. The decision is totally up to you. But let me give you an example. Here is a page from a book. I've highlighted a few words in green. These are the words that I don't know, but I'm not going to look them up. Why? Because they don't really impact my understanding of what's happening. But I did highlight one word in red. I looked it up because it blocked me from picturing the sense. The text is describing someone's office, and I was building an image of the space in my mind until I hit that unknown word. So I looked it up, found out it wasn't an object, and then I could complete the mental image. That's the point of casual reading. The ultimate goal of this is to understand the passage instead of starting a tooth and nail battle against the words that you don't know. One more tip for learning words and phrases: always try to remember the context. Don't just memorize the words on its own, try to remember where you saw it. For example, one phrase I kept in my vocab notes is "get him on a horn." I'll never forget where I found it because it was from a podcast about making phone calls. The speaker said something like, if you need quick feedback, don't text, just get him on a horn. That context really stuck with me. And because I remember the situation, I remember the meaning naturally. Alright, let's move on. I know many of you have read or written a lot of words. However, the real problem is that no matter how many words you collected in your notebook, you still struggle to use them. So I might give you some tips that you might find useful. Tip number 1, adapt the context to the word. What does that mean? Well, usually when we write or speak, we come up with the structure and content of the essay first, and then try to fill in the words. But when you're trying to use a word actively, flip the process. Start with the word and build a sentence or example around it. Think of it like this: when you learn the word, hold it close like someone you miss. Keep thinking about it, and then when you are writing or speaking, ask yourself, how can I include this word in what I'm saying here? You could just make up a sentence just to fit it in. and that's how you make it part of your active vocabulary. Tip number 2, practice paraphrasing. Paraphrasing means expressing the same idea with different words. This is something you should do in both speaking and writing. Try to say something in multiple ways, maybe using a new word or phrase you just learned. Yeah, we can see if you can express certain things using different combinations of words and phrases and vocab, including those you have just picked up. You got it? Here, I just rephrased the previous sentence. Also, revisit your vocab list regularly, pick up a phrase, and then try to make a sentence using it. Say, I open my notes and see, get them on a horn. I might come up with a sentence like this: I want to get my friend on a horn because she hasn't replied to me all day. And challenge yourself to come up with as many sentences as possible, which is fun and rewarding at the same time. Tip number 3, don't worry about being perfect. When you are practicing, especially in casual situations, it is totally okay to use words a little bit incorrectly. Encourage yourself to use as many words as possible. Try not to let that little voice stop you from speaking up just because you are unsure. I know standardized tests, which we have all along, force us to care about these super fine differences in word usage, but in real life, most people don't really care about the level of precision. Even the people who write those test questions need the help of dictionaries. If you're not writing an epic academic journal in which an ambiguous expression could be fatal, don't worry about rigid correctness. Slightly awkward phrasing is not a big deal in everyday conversation. So that's all the sharing for this video. I hope you find it useful. I believe you can learn new words from a context that you are interested in instead of a very boring vocabulary list. You're going to be naturally able to use these words because the content is so obvious in your mind. Alright, that's the end of the video. This is Shiny English here. Remember, happy learning, and I know you would. See you next time.